My history with MMOs is, let's say, limited at best. Prior to PSVR, I didn't have a ton of interest in multiplayer games, so the term massively multiplayer sounded like a f***ing nightmare. But things have changed, mostly due to VR and our awesome community. And I always said that if an MMO came to PlayStation VR, I'd be totally down to check it out. And boy, have we been teased over the years. Meta World ended up being a scam, and the other two, Elysia and Elysium, are sure taking their sweet time getting here. Which leaves us with Zenith, The Last City. Early previews claimed all sorts of influences, everything from Miyazaki to Phantasy Star, so artistically, Zenith seemed like everything I ever wanted. But it wasn't until after playing the betas, and now the final game for myself, that I realized that the game and social aspect of Zenith deliver in a big way. And stepping into Zenith's world for the first time proved that the developers accomplished exactly what they set out to do. In a way, it's something people have seen 100 times before. I mean, the story is minimal, there's a lot of grinding, and the quests are fairly simple quests. But once you walk out of the tutorial area, cross the bridge into the Fractured Plains, and see everyone already playing, running around, killing bad guys, running quests, climbing, and flying around the world in VR before you've even done anything at all, feels like the culmination of everything we wanted from VR since day one. It's like Rec Room, but, with a cool art style, awesome abilities, and much deeper gameplay mechanics than anything you'll find in Against Gravity's impressive social hub. Starting out, you'll be able to make your own character. There's 2 genders along with plenty of hairstyles and skin colors to pick from. They're all Zenithians though, so when you run around and look at everyone else, well, we all look kind of related. At launch, there's 2 different classes. If you want to run in swinging swords, then the Blademaster has your name written all over it. This class requires a little bit more physicality until you learn to be more conservative with the force and timing of your swings. But if you'd rather keep a bit of distance between you and your enemies, like I do, you might prefer the Essence Mage, who can charge up and fire shots from your hands. There are of course benefits and downsides to both, but honestly, I felt like discovering the nuances between the 2 classes and learning what each is capable of was half the fun, so the last thing I want to do is sit here and ruin that experience for all of you. That said, both have some very cool gesture-based spells and abilities that you can level up. It uses your MP, so managing those cooldown timers along with your MP and stamina meters is what'll make you more successful in battle. And as expected, both the Blademaster and Essence Mage have 3 roles to pick from: DPS, Medic, and Tank, so whatever way you normally like to play in MMOs, you're likely to be able to play that way in Zenith too. Before you even take on your first quest, you'll probably realize just how much fun it is to explore this world. Sure, there are ladders that allow you to climb to some higher platforms, but what's so much cooler is that you can pretty much climb anything. This means that if you see an orange in a tree that you want, you can reach out and just climb, exactly the way you think you would. Plus, there are zip lines scattered around that bring you to some pretty high areas. But best of all is the gliding mechanic. Jumping off any platform and doing a T-pose starts your character flying off in that direction. And switching over to sensitive or advanced gliding will allow you to dive bomb, gain momentum, and in general, just have way more control over your flight. It makes getting from one side of the map to the other way more fun. Almost everything fun uses stamina though, so when you're playing the game you'll want to keep an eye out for the crystal teardrops that are hidden throughout the world. Collecting them and returning them to this giant statue ups your stamina meter permanently, so it's a side quest that'll be in the back of your mind for the entire game. Almost all the interactions here are VRAF, and that just makes Zenith even more fun to play. For most of the game, you'll run around, encounter NPCs, and take on quests that can be everything from killing a certain number of enemies to searching specific areas, killing bosses, or just pulling levers and flipping switches. It's stuff that on its own might be a little mundane, but with 3 or 4 friends, or if you're really popular and you're grinding it out with 10 to 20 other people, it's an absolute blast. Global voice chat is on by default, so if anyone is talking near you, you can hear them. But if you party up or join a guild, you can switch over to guild or party chat, and you'll hear everyone as if they're standing directly next to you. This all works way better than expected and makes the social aspect of Zenith half the reason to play. The developers apparently thought so too, and even included a tavern for you and your friends to hang out at whenever you feel like taking a break. The fastest way to level up in Zenith seems to be sticking to the story, gaining XP from completing quests and side quests, and tackling events as frequently as possible. There are crafting stations, which so far I haven't found much use for, because I've been finding a ton of great loot, allowing me to upgrade my armor and weapons every hour or so. Oh, and even though it's totally optional, you can spend a ton of time cooking. Finding Bryn in the city unlocks mission after mission of finding ingredients and getting recipes that'll serve as buffs for both you and your party members. What could have been a simple addition to Zenith feels remarkably fleshed out. I mentioned at the beginning of this review that the developers were inspired by Phantasy Star Online, and nothing proves that more than the cyberpunk world itself. You can look at any rock or any tree and see the low-resolution textures, and no one item looks amazing on its own. But when you take a step back and look at everything as a whole, it's just beautiful, like an anime come to life in VR. The art design here is just through the roof, and getting up to a high vantage point and looking out into the distance and seeing the incredible draw distance is really a sight to behold. All of this is complemented by an awesome soundtrack that usually takes a backseat to the in-game voice chat, but when you do pay attention to it, it'll bring back memories of some of your favorite JRPGs.
Okay. Yep.
So if you've played Zenith, you know that there's some negatives coming. Fast traveling can frequently cause crashes, sometimes markers disappear from your minimap, and occasionally you'll end up underneath the world, or voice chat mysteriously just stops working. But somehow none of these things ever got in the way of our fun. Anytime I experienced a major issue, which was few and far between, getting back to the game never took more than a minute or two. There's a sad misconception out there that VR isolates gamers, that you put a box on your head and suddenly you're in this world all by yourself, away from friends, away from family, away from society. But during a time where it's harder than ever to see your friends and family in real life, VR games that allow you to get up, move around, and interact with literally hundreds of other people are more important now than ever. That's not the only reason to get Zenith though. Launching at just $30 with an overwhelming amount of content and polish, Zenith kicks off the MMO genre on PSVR with not only a ton of style, but also a truly endless amount of potential. It's already one of my favorite games, and I can't wait to see what they'll add next.
Yo.
What's up, man? Welcome to the Game Cat Dojo. Hey!
Holy shit! What the fuck? Was that a flash mob? Did you guys fucking